Well, everyone, it's time for us to go and take a look at the Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra and compare it against the Samsung Galaxy S21 Ultra and see which particular phone is the better one for you. Now, the very first thing I can definitely tell you is that if you're going to go through and pick up any of these phones, again, if you're going to pick them up, the best one to pick up is the most recent one, so definitely buy the Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra, but there's a lot of phones in between that are also fairly solid options as well. So we'll take a look at those throughout this whole entire video, but if you want to pick up either one of these phones, links will be down in the description below. You can get them from there and you can help support the channel at the exact same time. Now, starting off with the outside of both of these phones, the Samsung Galaxy S21 Ultra came out back in 2021, and on the front side of this particular phone, you're basically getting a pretty large 6.8-inch dynamic AMOLED display. Now, this type of panel I thought was really nice. It was a pretty good panel when it first came out. It was 120 Hz and 1500 nits of brightness, which isn't the brightest, but still it's a good panel. And it still is like a pretty good looking display nonetheless. Like, I do think if you're going to go through and pick up a phone, this type of panel and this type of screen is actually pretty good. And I do think this in and of itself, it's a very, very nice thing going on for this type of phone when it kind of comes down to it. So on the front of the S21 Ultra, I think it looks great. You're also getting this curved glass on it too and a whole bunch of displays. So this phone definitely looks pretty good when it comes down to it. On the Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra, on this phone, you're basically getting a bigger sized 6.9-inch dynamic LTPO AMOLED display. So this phone, you're basically still maintaining 2600 nits of brightness, which is brighter than the Galaxy S21 Ultra, still 120 Hz, 1440p as well. And this type of panel is very, very good. It's a slightly little bit of a different design. You can see we're getting like these squared off edges on the sides. So it is slightly different, but it's not really even that big of a deal. You're still maintaining that whole punch display, like 120 Hz, and it's definitely still a phone that I really like a lot. So if you're definitely going to go through and pick up a device, this is still one of those types of panels that I look at, and I'm still a big fan of the Galaxy S21 Ultras, but the Galaxy S25 Ultra is also giving you a very nice display when it comes down to it from that side as well. On the bottom, you're getting USB Type-C ports on both, but the Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra does have an S Pen built in. So it is a stylus, and I do think that that is in and of itself another really nice thing to basically have. And I do think if you are going to go through and pick up a phone, it is actually a really nice thing to basically have in the Galaxy S25 Ultra, that little S Pen that you can pull in and pull out. And it actually does do a pretty decent job, when you're kind of using it and kind of messing around with it. On the back side, you're getting a frosted glass back on the back of both of these particular phones. So that right there again is another really cool thing. Once again, being able to go through and get this type of phone and get that type of capability, I think is really cool because you're getting, I just love having a frosted glass back. They just feel so much better. You're getting your quadruple camera setup a little bit on the back side of both these phones as well, which again, that's pretty nice. You're getting wireless charging on both, reverse wireless charging on both. There is still a lot of stuff to basically love between both of these phones. And if you are going to go through and pick up either one of these devices, I would definitely say both these devices are pretty solid. They both feel like relatively the same, but definitely with something like the Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra, this is a phone that's going to look much better. It's going to feel much better. If you are wanting the more expensive feeling phone or the better phone with more features, then definitely the Galaxy S25 Ultra is the one for you. But what is very interesting is that when it does come down to basically like the price tags, the Galaxy S21 Ultra costs about $252 on Amazon. The Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra, because it just came out, this phone is basically costing like $1,300. So that right there can be a pretty big difference depending on which way you're looking at it, because that type of phone, it is definitely going to be a little bit different type of layout. Right, so if you're getting a phone that's going to be, if you're wanting a cheaper phone, then definitely the S21 Ultra is the one for you, as far as I can tell. Now, on top of that, another very big thing to keep in mind here too, is basically when it comes down to their cameras. So the Galaxy S21 Ultra is giving you that quadruple camera setup. Now, the megapixels are higher on the Galaxy S25 Ultra, so definitely keep that in mind. You're going to be getting a higher megapixel ultra-wide camera, periscope telephoto lens, and a higher megapixel wide-angle lens, but their standard telephoto lens is the same megapixel count. Now, you are able to film in 4K at 60 frames per second on the front and the back, which is nice. You're also able to film an 8K video on the back side, but there is a slight difference. The Galaxy S21 Ultra does allow you to film an 8K video at 24 frames per second, but the Galaxy S25 Ultra allows you to film an 8K video at 30 frames per second. So if that's a very big deal to you, then clearly you're going to have to jump up to something like a Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra. But if you're okay with getting a standard type of camera that's a little bit like, less frames per second, then you might be okay with something like a Samsung Galaxy S21 Ultra. But even then, I think you might be better with something like an S25 Ultra when it kind of comes down to it from that side. So that right there, I think, is another big thing to keep in mind. But from the camera side, the S25 Ultra is better, but the S21 Ultra is not like terrible either. So from that side, and that kind of covers it up there. Now, on top of that, another very big thing to keep in mind here too is basically the software updates. So both these phones were supported with software. The S25 Ultra just came out. So this phone is going to have the highest likelihood of lasting for a longer period of time. So if you are wanting a phone that's going to last you longer, definitely you're going to have to look at something like the Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra, because that phone, not only is it going to last longer than the S21 Ultra, but it already is lasting longer. The S21 Ultra is kind of in this situation where it's kind of already done getting software support. So I would hate for you to go ahead and buy that type of phone if you're already done getting software updates, right? That's kind of how I see it. So, I think the S21 Ultra is still a good phone, but, I think from a software update perspective, it does not make any sense to go and buy that type of phone when it kind of comes down to it. Now, on top of that, when it comes down to the battery sizes and the battery life, I would probably say the S25 Ultra is going to be giving you overall better battery life, but the Galaxy S25 Ultra and the S21 Ultra are both giving you 5,000 milliamp hours. So that right there is another very, very interesting thing to keep in mind here, because even from that side alone, you are going to be getting an overall better, a bigger size battery inside of your Galaxy S20. You're going to be getting the same size battery size between both, but they're both very big size. So there's not really that much to complain about there either, but that is just like one other thing to kind of think about there when it kind of comes down to it. Now finally, when it comes down to the performance, the Galaxy S21 Ultra is going to be giving you that Snapdragon 888 chipset inside with 12 gigabytes of RAM, where the Galaxy S25 Ultra is going to be giving you that Snapdragon 8 Elite chipset inside with 12 gigabytes of RAM as well. So when it does kind of come down to, the performance side, the base models of both, they're going to be giving you pretty decent performance, but clearly the Galaxy S25 Ultra is better. But there is also a 16 gigabyte of RAM option between both of these. So that right there can also be another very interesting thing, because if you're taking a look at both these phones, you could probably see that with a device like the Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra, that one is going to be substantially faster than the S21 Ultra, but the S21 Ultra still has the same amount of RAM, and it still actually isn't like a terrible performing phone either. And that is kind of like an interesting thing to kind of think about there when you're going through and buying that type of device as well. So overall, the biggest thing I could probably tell you is that if you are going to go through and like pick up a phone, definitely a phone like the Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra is substantially better. And there's not really a way in which I can think that the S21 Ultra is a better phone besides the price tag. Other than that, definitely get an S25 Ultra, but you don't have to just choose between these two. I think a really good middle ground is the Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra. I think buying an S23 Ultra would be a really good option. That one doesn't really cost that much comparatively to these ones. And I think that one is still a device I would highly recommend people to buy as well. So in terms of that kind of covers it up there. If you have any other thoughts or questions, please let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.